Things about my high school experience that would probably stress out my students that I currently teach. So I graduated high school back in 2013, so it was kind of right on the cusp of that younger, like, millennial Gen Zers, like, overlap. So I was kind of at a weird spot, born in 95. So some of the things like smartphones, that kind of stuff, were just starting to come around. But these are just some things that I think would kind of stress out my kids. So I think the first thing that would stress out my current students would be a strict dress code. Like, I went to high school back in the day where leggings were being banned in multiple districts and that girls were not allowed to wear leggings. We also did not allow hats or even like hoodies. Kids would get yelled at for that all the time in our school these days. Like, and I'm obviously a teacher, like, obviously, I don't care if you wear leggings, I don't care if you wear a hat, I don't care if you wear a baseball hat. So vastly different from, 2013-ish when I graduated, my 4-year time frame versus my school that I teach at today. Next thing that popped into my head was lockers. Like, nobody at the school that I teach at, except for maybe like 3 kids a year, use locker. And the kids that use it only use it for like an instrument or their gym stuff or their sports stuff. Like, nobody goes with these lockers, and our hallways are just full of them because it's an older school. Whereas when I was in high school, you were not allowed to have your backpack in class, so you were every single class like running up to your locker or trying to carry 10 million things in between classes. Instead of having your backpack with you, you had to use your locker, and that was just like the norm. The next thing that popped into my head is the fact that kids today have either via their smartphones, Chromebooks, iPads, depending on your district. If you have those types of things available, like on a one-to-one basis, the fact that these kids can just Google literally anything in the moment and can get answers and kind of problem solve using those resources, whereas when I was in school, you did not have access to like a computer anytime you wanted. When I was in school, you had to like sign out things like computers, the computer lab, iPads. Like, iPads were just becoming a thing when I was in high school, and because of that, the teachers had no idea how to like implement using them in the classroom either. So the ability to just Google things was not a thing back in my day. I don't know if this last thing would necessarily stress my kids out, but it's just an observation that I've made based off of my time working at the district that I've been at for the last 8 years, and that is the fact that most of the teachers at my district are relatively young, especially like within the last few years. So the year that I was hired in, I was one of like 8 of us, I want to say, that were all in like our mid to lower 20s. Like, I was 21 when I started teaching, so it was my best friend next to me, another coworker, like all of us were young. I remember when I was in high school, all of them were like pushing 50, and I had one lady who was the English teacher too, so she was, I don't want to say decrepit, but Miss was old, who literally just sat in a chair with a literal stick, not like a laser pointer, but just a big old stick, and just like pointed and never moved from that chair. So now they got these, younger faces that are in the classroom. So those are just some things that I noticed different about my kind of high school experience when I graduated a little over 10 years ago versus what I see from now a teacher's perspective in a high school where I teach.